Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Joe Rogan. But I love Joe Rogan, not just because I've been a fan of his podcast basically since, the early days, but just because, in my view, Joe Rogan's like the perfect embodiment of the regular dude. He's just a metaphor. I obviously live in my own little bubble here, and sometimes I lose track with how, more apolitical people are feeling about certain issues or, where they're tracking. And so where do I go to get that information? Where do I go to get a perfect insight, a view into exactly that? I go straight to the Joe Rogan experience. And it's taken some time for Joe Rogan to see the light. Throughout the first 4 years of the Trump administration and the 4 years of Joe Biden's administration, there really wasn't that much movement. Joe was still the same Bernie bro. But really, in the last, let's call it 6 to 8 months, it's all moved so fast. It's been, let's call it exponential growth. And now it seems as though Rogan sees it. He gets it. The gaslighting from these out-of-touch, elitist freaks has reached astronomical levels. And the regular Joes are finally waking up to just how much they're being lied to. I got a great Joe Rogan highlight here, where he absolutely obliterates Bernie Sanders, the Soros family, and the corrupt media. Senator Sanders recently made some nonsense comment about Trump trying to silence independent media, and Joe Rogan wasn't having it at all. The political evolution of Joe Rogan continues. Let's continue to do what we've been doing. Let's continue to track it. Let me show you guys exactly what I got for you. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so here's the clip that's currently bouncing around the internet. Take a look at this.
It's amazing to watch all these left-wing people suddenly. Bernie Sanders making a post about how Donald Trump is trying to silence independent media was the wildest gaslighting I think I've ever seen from a politician. Independent media? You mean CBS? You mean CBS that edited that Kamala Harris interview to make it look like she had a really good point?
100%. And then I don't know if you caught Alex Soros reposting this claim that basically you have an unelected cabal wielding power. I mean, that's
you.
Yeah,
that's you, Alex. That's your dad. This is crazy.
Yeah, no, it's a very, very strange historical moment.
Also, it's like you haven't addressed any of the exposed corruption. All you're talking about is the horrors of dismantling this amazing organization. What about all that they've uncovered? There's not even a counter argument. Like, no, we need to fund gender fluid dance in Turkey. like, what are you talking about? We need $200 million for Starbucks Keurig cups. What?
Exactly like I said earlier, Joe Rogan is the perfect metaphor for the political shift that is happening right now. People are waking up like never before. In the past, I think a lot of people were naive to the rhetoric that was coming out of characters like Bernie Sanders and others. They still had faith and trust in the system, but nowadays, the gaslighting has just gone too far, and it's reaching a breaking point. The Democrat Party is just in the gutter, and it's their own doing. People are finally realizing just how deep the rot goes.
I don't know if you saw this, but Elizabeth Warren got confronted, and it's on Twitter this morning. She got confronted about the amount of money that she's received from pharmaceutical drug companies. She said she's never received any money from pharmaceutical drug companies and never received any monies from any PACs. And then, of course, underneath it, Community Notes strikes again. And, of course, she received millions.
Yeah.
She's a liar.
Well, and it's an arms race. How can pharma cloak the money that it's giving so that there's plausible deniability at the point that Elizabeth Warren is confronted or Bernie Sanders?
Bernie Sanders was hilarious.
Only 1.5 billion. Only 1.5 million out of 200 million. Only 1.5.
Yep, that's what I saw
First
as
he
well.
tried to say nothing. Only the hardworking people of this country gave me money.
Well, I don't think the Democrats understand that it's over.
They've been totally and utterly exposed to the regular Joe. They lost control of X. Social media has totally taken over. We are the media now. CNN, MSNBC, and these outlets can no longer control the narrative. And slowly, regular people are waking up and realizing that they've been gaslit and lied to. Bernie Sanders was supposed to be the good one, right? The uncorruptible socialist. Well, what kind of socialist has multiple multi-million-dollar properties? How is Bernie Sanders the good one when he's defending the government propping up big mainstream sources as he attempts to craft this narrative that Donald Trump is attacking independent media? Does he even freaking know what independent media is? You know, Bernie Sanders has always gotten away with this image that he's painted for himself, but it's never been accurate. He's not just an honest old man. He's a narrative builder like the rest of them. He's a propagandist like the rest of these leftoids. I mean, look at the rhetoric that he spewed for years about Donald Trump's tax cuts going only to the rich and the wealthy and the billionaire class. That's objective fake news, but he spewed it forever because the narrative of demonizing billionaires was more important to him than actually telling the truth. You know, the lies or the compiling of lies, the contradictions have started to stack so much that people have woken up and people jumped ship. And Joe Rogan's the embodiment of that. And obviously the left couldn't see it. They couldn't see over the last 5-6 years that they were slowly losing grip, how important it was for them to keep people like Joe Rogan. No, instead they demonized him. They smeared him as alt-right. He's a Nazi. Why do you think Kamala Harris didn't go on his show? Because all the young staffers working for her kept telling her in her ear that Joe Rogan's an unacceptable, deplorable human being. And slowly but surely they pushed him away. I mean, to put it into real clear perspective, Rogan back then, 8-9 years ago, was super progressive. He even endorsed Bernie Sanders. He was openly supportive of democratic socialism and basically gave Bernie Sanders his platform when he wouldn't do the same for Joe Biden, Donald Trump, or other politicians back then.
I've never voted right wing in my life. Hello, Bernie.
How are you, Joe?
Wonderful. Pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I like Tulsi and I like Bernie. That's it.
Oh, yeah?
I think I'll probably vote for Bernie. I think he's looking out for the interests of the working people. And I think he wants people to have a better life and do better. And I'm all for that. And if that means I have to pay more in tax, like people think, oh, you're a socialist. Like, first of all, he's not even a socialist. He's a democratic socialist. I'm very pro-choice. I'm very women's rights, civil rights, gay rights, trans rights. I'm even universal health care. The January 6th thing is important.
See, it is important, but is it the 6 months later? It should be the ruling number one conversation of journalists?
I think it's really important. And one of the reasons why I think it's important because it highlights the reasons why a guy like Donald Trump is so dangerous. Is because a guy can incite a bunch of morons to do something really f***ing stupid. But as far as trans people, some trans people listening to this, I got nothing but love for you. For everybody. And in fact, Eddie Izzard is one of my all-time favorite guests.
Oh, I love Izzard.
The right-wing thing is just an easy way to dismiss me because I'm not right-wing.
But of course, there was always one problem with Joe Rogan, and that's why they never embraced him. They went after him because he wasn't 100% brainwashed like them. He wasn't willing to just blindly go with the leftist dogma, and obviously that's a problem. And that's really where the disconnect is. And really what used to be a disconnect, nowadays I think is a giant chasm. Joe Rogan isn't just one dude who got red-pilled. He represents millions of Americans who used to buy into the left's ridiculous narratives, but slowly, as this slow drip of information started to trickle through, people started to wake up and realize that they're being lied to. Joe Rogan's the perfect metaphor for the average Joe, for your typical apolitical dude. And also, I think he's quickly becoming a metaphor for the total collapse of the media, the DNC, the entire Democrat establishment. Rogan is a metaphor, a symbol for the demise of the modern left. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys on this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like, of course, if you guys feel like it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.